I must warmly thank, on behalf of the three of us, the newly formed Chennai Literary Association for inviting us to the first Chennai Literary Festival. I think it's a commendable idea that the association was formed, and it's an even more commendable idea that they're kick-starting it with this three-day festival, in which this, I think, would be the first interactive program for the festival. On my left is Professor K. Chellappan, a legendary figure in the world of English teaching in Madras and the districts. He was at Madurai Kamaraj University, then at Bharatidasan University, and I think he's been the mentor to many who teach English in the several universities in Tamil Nadu today. He is truly a legend as far as English teaching in this part of the world is concerned. At the extreme left is Mr. V. Sudarshan, Executive Editor, right, of the New Indian Express, a columnist on Sundays, and it's a column which I always read and don't miss, and the author of 2 books, the latest of which was an adventure based in the Andamans. As for me, I'm best known as a hack writer, as somebody who has done a bit in the printing business and done a bit in the publishing business and a little bit in the teaching business. The subject for discussion is strategizing for globalization of Indian literature. A few remarks on the subject. The organizers, when choosing this topic, had a few points in mind which they thought we would like to discuss. If I sort of list those points in any kind of order, I would say the most important one was, who should globalize? Is it the publishers? Is it the authors? Or is it governments? It's a question which needs to be asked if we are going to globalize literature, Indian literature, not necessarily literature in English. It could be local language literature translated into English if it's going global, or it might even be in the vernaculars themselves, going to various countries abroad. Is the responsibility that of the publishers? Is it that of the authors? Or is it that of governments? The second point which they would like us to look at is, what are the different kinds of Indian literature available to readers? There could be several genres of literature. What is freely available to readers today? On the third count, are our contents and styles too local, hence they can't become global? And leading on that, from that goes similarities and dissimilarities between Indian and globalized literature. Are all our writings today, whether in English or in the local languages, focused very much on the local scene? Is it looking at, is that too foreign for readers across the globe? It's a question we need to look at as such. And lastly, they would like to look at what sort of role does technology have in the process of globalization? They're really talking of computers and the e-world as such. It's a world which I up. Don't feel shy about it. Nobody reads Chetan Bhagat. How many of you will read Shobha Dev? Again, we are looking at a few hands. To me, this raises a very important question. What are we talking about globalizing literature when we are not reading in this country? Whether it's literature or non-literature or pop literature, if we are not reading, then what are we talking about globalization? It's a serious question which we need to ask ourselves, and I think this is something, if there are any teachers, and I see a few of them around here, should very seriously look at. Certainly, this country today has a large number of publishers and a large number of books are being written of different qualities. I think there's some very bad books being written, very bad quality books written. There's some very good stuff coming out. And they do manage to make both ends meet, and some publishers have been very successful. But where do we stand if we can't, the kind of print order for a book to break even generally is 2,000 copies. And as a former publisher of a sort and knowing the trade fairly well, the bulk of the books we are printing here are anywhere between 2,000 and 5,000. Obviously, the market is a very, very limited market, and it's a market which we have done nowhere, and let me assure you, the publishers have done their best to promote these books. I know authors have done their best. I know Sudarshan himself had a book reading at the Madras Book Club. At the end of the day, how many copies did you sell? You see, how many? 6 copies. 50. Very good. You did better than most people. Right. So there's a whole crowd of promotion being done. So, and it's not getting across. We need to address that question. And maybe the two speakers would like to look at that issue as such. I am seriously concerned about this because when we come to the second question I would really raise out of this is, since we use this term literature, how do we define literature? We are still in the age of Shakespeare. We're still teaching Marlowe, presumably. If you're our teachers, please correct me on. We are still teaching all sorts of things. If you pick the Indian authors, we are picking Salman Rushdie, one chapter. We are picking another chapter from God of Small Things. But we are not, everybody goes and writes an exam on it and passes, and everybody says, I got an English literature degree. I'll never forget once. I used to teach for years journalism at the Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan. And teaching journalism at Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan, there was one boy. I had very interactive classes. I love interactive classes. I love talking to people. This interactive class, and he always kept on answering me in Tamil in a class which was totally meant to be in English. And I kept on trying to get him to talk in English. One fine day I asked him, what subject did you do in college? And he said, English literature. And then I said, I got into Tamil. English literature, eppadi padicha? Tamil padicha. So where do we go on this issue? It's a very serious issue as such when we look at things. So I'd like to look at, I'm not going into detail on this, but I'd like you to think about those of you who are involved, including the students, as to if we are taking English, are we only going to be concerned with literature as taught in college? Are we going to look at reading books written in English? And, or thirdly, are we just looking at how to pass an exam? Or are we looking at something which is not being done in colleges, and which I'm seriously concerned about because I've talked about this at Anna University and various other places? We are talking about communicating in English and the inability to communicate in English. The other day, there was a report in several newspapers that 60 to 70% of people passing out of our colleges are unemployable. And the first reason given for that is the inability to communicate in English. Go to any major employer today and you'll find this. My sorrow on that issue is, and this was when I was teaching at Anna University at one point in time, when I taught, I tried teaching in English, 1/3 of the class understood me. I tried talking in a mixture of English and Tamil. I managed to get through to about 2/3. I can't communicate in Tamil. The third, even if it was taught in Tamil, let me assure you, would not have communicated. For the very simple reason, not that they were dumb. Give them a problem in numbers, they will solve the problem. There are just no communication skills. And communication means of talking to each other is not being taught. because they come from homes where there's no communication. I know I came from a home where my father and I never communicated. We belong to that generation. My father says, go to college and do engineering. I went to college and did engineering, even if I didn't know anything about engineering. That system still exists with us, especially in the rural areas, which are coming more and more into the colleges. So you need to look at something beyond the world of writing and literature into communication first. Then let's look at literature. Then looks at first pop literature. Let's read things. Let's read Chetan Bhagat. I'm a great fan of Chetan Bhagat. I'm also a great fan of Mills and Boons. I have no problem reading Mills and Boons. But then let's move on to literature, what we think of literature, if you can define what literature is at the end of the day. So this is something else which I think that we need to look and debate. Finally, when it comes to this question of the key subject, globalization, the only company that I know of, to some extent, which has done something about attempting to globalize Indian literature, vernacular literature, was first Macmillan's, and the same editor moved on to Oxford, where she now does, and now by now she has done about 100 books from all Indian languages translated into English. This is Minnie Krishnan. I don't know how many of you all know Minnie, but she has done an excellent job of this. Ask her for the sales figures, and it will be the most disappointing sales figures you'll find. Yet, Macmillan took the book to England and to Europe. Oxford has taken it there, and nobody's really interested. Nobody's really interested. So do we really want to globalize? I would put my priority as, can we first get people in India interested in your books? Can you get your students interested in reading? Can you get them to buy a book or go to all these magic instruments they have and read a book out of that? I think that should be our priority. It's something which both of them would like to discuss.
Our respected historian of Chennai, Mr. Sudhakar, Mr. Olivannan, and all the dear participants. They said Plato brought philosophy from heaven to earth. Addison brought it to the coffee house. I think the Times of India and Mr. Olivannan have brought literature out of the classroom into open life, and thereby contributed to the globalization of literature. Globalization has become an inescapable part of our life. What does it mean? No boundaries. We live in a world without walls. If a third-rate actress divorces her fifth husband, the next minute all the world knows about it, so that they can also divorce their husbands and wives or things like that. Everything that happens somewhere affects everyone in the world. In such a situation, can literature be globalized? And the first thing is, I think, literature is not a commodity. It is not an object of utility. It is an expression of creativity. Can we globalize as a child? I think popular things can be globalized. Economic goods can be globalized. But I think there is a need to globalize good literature, because there is already a linguistic imperialism, a literary imperialism. I think literature produced in the little island called England or America is the only literature known to most part of the world. Even in India, literature written in English is more spoken about. And what about great writers like Tagali, Jayakantan, the Marathi poet? I think there is an imbalance, and that should go. How to do that? This is the point. Because Indian literature is not just literature written in English. Indian literature is what is written in Bengali, Assamese, by the tribal people. The soul of India is to be found in the little nameless stories of the millions of the people of India. And that is written not in English, but in Tamil, Malayalam, Gujarati. And in that sense, I think we need a new mechanism or to make the world know what real India is through literature. That is very important. And this is this can be done mainly through translation. That's what I want to say. Rabindranath Tagore became a world citizen. Rabindranath Tagore has become a part of world literature. How? There are two things. He wrote his Gitanjali in Bengali, but he also translated it into English. If he had simply written everything in English, he would not have got the Nobel Prize. The world recognition came because Tagore speaks about the mind of India, the unified culture of India, the grand way in which man and God rub shoulders in an act of eternal love. And that is true India, and Tagore made it. But Tagore's literature became world literature because he and W.B. Yeats translated into Tamil, into English. I just want to say, some of the great classics are known, but even here there is an imbalance. Sanskrit classics are known, but not the Tamil classics. And how many people in the world know about Silappatikaram? I don't know. So, but I was very happy to know that in London, in the tube station, that beautiful Tamil poem, Yayim Nyayim Yarajiyaro, its translation is written in the way in London tube station. The red earth and pouring rain. And I think there are only very few literary texts there, and this translation has gone there. So I just want to emphasize only two things. One is translation, and I think even my good friend from Indian Express, I think the Indian Express must, all the newspapers must give some of the best things in the regional language. Sahitya Academy is running a journal called Indian Literature, but that is in English. That is the irony of it. So what I want to say is, I think we must somehow bring out the best of the writings from Indian languages into in translation, not only into English, in Russian, in French, and I think this sort of thing. You know, Rabindranath Tagore and Gade, the two great pioneers, they said, there is no, Gade said, there is no patriotic science or arts. They both belong to the world. This is Gade. Tagore said, from the narrow provincialism, we must free ourselves. We must strive to see the work of one another as a whole. This is very important. To me, globalization is, of literature is, a recognition of the world's great literary minds as one family. Dostoevsky, Shakespeare, Greek tragedy, Kamban's Ramayana, they all constitute one great family of minds. So this is what Tagore says. He used a term called Vishwa Sahitya. As a whole, the whole as a part of man's universal creativity, and that universality in its manifestation through world literature. That is what he says. To Gade and to Tagore, the days of national literature are gone. The days of universal literature must be born. But they also recognized that universality should not deny the uniqueness and the individuality of a work of art. Can you remember this, my dear gentlemen? Hamlet is every man, but Hamlet is only Hamlet. Every work of art is unique, but it has a universal meaning. That's what I say. Its moorings are local, but its meanings are universal. Great literature, it is rooted in the local. We cannot deny the local root. The roots are local, but the blossoms are universal. If we have that attitude, I think we can propagate, contribute to a concept of universal literature where there is a dialectical and a dialogic interaction between all literatures. I want every Tamilian to know Dostoevsky, Conrad, and the Latin American writer, because otherwise we will have a narrow provincial attitude. And our writers must also respond to the creative wind from all parts of the world. And this dialectical and the dialogic relationship between the local and the universal, the unique and the universal, if it continues, I think ultimately, I think we can create a world without walls. This is the point. Economic globalization is still, I think, reflecting some sort of imperialism. But I think globalization of literature, and if Indian literature becomes known to everybody, and if Indian literature also knows other literature, this is very, globalization is both ways. We should go to the globe, and the globe should also be with us. If we have this attitude, I'm sure, why did not Subramania Bharati get a Nobel Prize? Because his works were not translated. His works were not known so much. But even small poems like that Kani Neelam, where the poet is asking for a virgin to collaborate together in creating poetry, he says, He asked Parashakti, give me a virgin, I will make poetry. And you stand in the forest to protect me. Why? The Parashakti is wondering, that is not my job, but he says, if you protect my poetry, I will protect the world. In the whole of literature, I have read Shelley's West Wind, I have read Coleridge's Kubla Khan, I have read great world revolutionary poetry, but Subramania Bharati says, he is asking the goddess Parashakti to help him in creating poetry. But if she helps him in creating poetry, he says, I will protect the world with the power of my poetry. So that is what I want to say. I think we must keep literature open to all people, and our literature must be open to all kinds of life, and that will result in the unification of all literatures into one great synthesis. All literatures into great synthesis, where each nation would play its part. This is very important. All literatures will become a great synthesis in which each nation would play its part in a universal concept. That is what Goethe said, and I would like to conclude by saying, I think this is what the comparatives say, national literature is literature within walls. Comparative literature is literature across the walls. General literature is literature above the walls. But a concept of world literature in which good literatures are all put together in a harmony, a good arrangement of world literature will result in literature without walls. I think a world without walls will lead to a literature without walls, and that will again lead to a world without walls, and that should be the goal of globalization of Indian literature. Thank you.